You ready to go?
Ready.
Okay. Let's call to order the meeting of the Montara Water and Sanitary District Board of Directors. It's June 17th, 2021 at 7:33 p.m. Tracy, could we have a roll call, please?
Okay. Director Boyd?
Here.
Director Decker?
Here.
Director Harvey?
Here.
Director Lohman?
Here.
Director Slater-Carter?
Present.
Okay, so it looks like we're all here. For President's statement tonight, just a regular reminder, we're going through a drought. We're in better shape than a lot of our friends, but our community is great at conserving. Let's keep that up. I'm sure
You're breaking up and stopping.
And on mailers and on the website about being more wise right now. It's fine.
You're breaking up, Scott.
It must be from that mountaintop location you're in, Scott.
Who's VP?
Scott? Did we lose you? Okay.
Let me connect from a different machine.
Okay, let's give Scott a minute.
And I'll, if he doesn't come on soon, I'll go ahead and continue on with the meeting.
I'm admitting him right now.
Good. That's the wrong day.
Let's try this. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll keep my president's statement short. We're in a drought. Our community is really good at conserving water. Keep it up, and look for more messages from the district in your mailings and online and subsequent meetings about ways to save. Montara Water and Sanitary District is in pretty good shape with respect to water, given that we're in a drought, but it is a real drought. So let's all be water wise. Let's move on to the public hearing. Item number 1, review and possible action concerning adoption of a revised master fee schedule.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Skip public comment.
Oh, sorry. Let's go to public comment. My apologies. Who do we have public comment from? I see, let's start with Greg, and then after Greg, we'll go to Ann.
All right, so I'm here to register a concern on behalf of several residents about the level of water supply in our water district. I did hear your statement. People are so concerned that one of them just wrote an article today about the poor condition of the water supplies in Pacifica and Half Moon Bay. I haven't done anything yet with respect to analyzing Montara's situation. Scott's given me some more homework to do, but I'm going to encourage the district to reassess the data in its 2017, I'll call it your urban water master plan. I know it's not that because you don't have to do it because you have less than 3,000 connections, but I just want to register a concern. And there's several dimensions to that, and we'll get into that later. But I'd appreciate it if you would take a hard look at the water supply situation.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Ann, and then after Ann, let's go to Ned. So Ann?
Thank you so much. Actually, I had a similar concern about the water, and if I wanted to know if there's going to be any particular mailing going out to just give us more tips how to conserve the water usage, and also will there be a moratorium building or anything else to make sure that we maintain the water supply we have for the current customer? Thank you.
Clemens, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think I should probably say a couple of words here since we have two comments about the same topic. I think, well, first of all, thank you very much, Anne and Greg, for bringing this to the board. I think everybody, entire California is right now very anxious and concerned about the current water supply situation, and rightfully so. California is the only area in the entire world that transports water over long distances to provide residents the possibility to live where they, where the developments are. However, that's not necessarily true for all agencies. Some agencies have independent water supplies. Montara Water and Sanitary District is one of them. Our water supply is not only independent from others, independent from for example, from the large state-owned system that basically works with surface water. We have a combination of sources. Our sources are also locally, so we have local sources. We have an advantage in that we were for a very long time, this water system was for a very long time under a moratorium. So we had to do a lot of homework, had to prepare probably much earlier than other agencies do. So our water supply situation is very good. We are monitoring our water levels on a constant basis. I just took a look at them today. We are nowhere near dipping into our drought reserves. MWSD is very unique in the sense that we actually consider half of our capacity we essentially set aside as drought contingency. Let me go into this a little bit more in detail. We can use just one well as an example. Let's say, for example, the Alta Vista well. Alta Vista well pumping test. There's a pumping test, initial pumping test that's done that essentially determines the capacity, the actual capacity of the well. That came back at 300 gallons per minute. The state immediately cuts this completely in half and allows us only to work with 150 gallons of capacity. Now, Montara Water and Sanitary District had to set aside essentially or consider 50% of that as drought contingency. So that means we have the permission to pump the well at 150 gallons per minute, but we are pumping it actually at much less. If we have to pump it higher at 150 GPM, and that over a prolonged time, there's a number of things that we can consider and see when our water levels drop below what we would consider drought contingency, meaning that means that is when we start understanding that we are that we can pump for a number of years, and if within a number of years we see some rainfall coming, the aquifer replenishes. So I think it's very important to understand that California is in a severe drought and that all water agencies have to send the message out to conserve. We're all in the same boat. Our neighbors are in a very different situation, but they are in need to conserve. So I don't think it makes much sense to tell anyone right now that you can use as much water as you want. We don't know how long this drought is going to be. Some say it's not a drought. Some say we had some wet years in the past and the normal is coming back. Regardless, our water supply situation is sufficient for the existing needs. And we worked very hard to repeal the moratorium, build up new sources, and we didn't stop there. We are actively looking at developing new sources for the district. We're also actively looking at applying new technologies. Recycled water, for example, is one of the things that really should be looked at very closely right now. We are doing that. So we very recently had agenda items that were brought to us by the SAM representatives. Director Lohman is very active in that regard, trying to figure out how can we reactivate the coast-side recycled water project? How can we implement recycled water within the district? So it is a very dire situation that California is in. We did our homework, and new technologies can help us go through difficult phases and enter a new chapter. And that is what we are well prepared to do. Thank you.
That's the kind of information I was alluding to in my president's statement. Thank you, Clemens. I knew there was quite a bit more than I wanted to try to capture. Okay, let's move on to Ned Brasher, please.
Yeah, I was supposed to be on the agenda today, but maybe you took it off the agenda because I didn't see it for the building permit that I was trying to get approved.
Yeah, a real brief, maybe just a status update. We actually sent a letter to Mr. Brasher. So Mr. Brasher filed an application with us. We asked any applicant to give us 8 weeks. We responded to Mr. Brasher's application within that time.
Right, I got the letter, and I wanted to know, a question for the board, did the board receive the May 11th email that I sent to the board members?
Yes.
Okay, because I had no acknowledgement of it by anybody that it was received. So you know my issues. They're going to send me a second letter pertaining to this permit. And if I have any issues with that or any concerns, how best to communicate with the board.
This is a good avenue to show up at a board meeting, for example, or send an email to the info address.
Okay, so if I send an email to the info@mwsd.net, it does get forwarded to the board members.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, and what I would like is if I do that, I would like at least one board member to say, yes, we received it. So that I'm not put in the dark about whether or not it was even received. Anyway, that's my comments. I don't, as you can tell, I have a very low level of trust in the district from the experience I've been through with Clemens and Tanya the last 10 and a half months.
Okay. Thank you for the feedback, Rick.
Do we have an update on the, basically based on the drought again, on the Moss Beach project? I understand that an environmental group is challenging the EIR for that, possibly especially because of the drought, and adding in hundreds of more people would mean less water for everybody else. Have we heard of an update on the status of that by any chance?
We have not received any communication from either the developer or the county in really years, quite frankly. I think the last, at least for 2 years or so.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other public comment on matters not on the agenda? I don't see hands, so let's move to public hearing item 1. A review and possible action concerning adoption of a revised master fee schedule.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So this is a standard item that we do every year. We look at our master fee schedule and update all the fees and charges, or most fees and charges in the master fee schedule. So the way we do this is we apply the cost of living increase to anything that's based on any fees that are based on labor. We apply the cost of construction index to any fees that are really tied to construction. This year we have also a sewer service charge rate increase that was approved last year through a Prop 218 process of 9%. So we see the sewer service charges go up for one unit from $22.97 to $25.04. And as in the past years, this increase is necessary to fund the Sewer Authority Missed Coast Side assessment. That's for the treatment of our sewage. And also the capital improvement expenses went up. That's both on the Sewer Authority Mid Coast side as well as for Montara Water and Sanitary District. I do want to point out that we do not have a water rate increase built into this master fee schedule this year. So the connection, by the way, the California Construction Cost Index is this year at 2.8%. The cost of living increase that's specific for San Francisco Bay Area, we're looking at April to April, is at 3.8%. So we're suggesting to open the public hearing, consider relevant public testimony, close the public hearing, and adopt the ordinance of the Montara Water and Sanitary District, restating and amending the master fee schedule.
Okay, I hereby open the public hearing. Do we have any public testimony? Have we received any written testimony?
No written testimony received.
So I'm looking across the audience. I don't see any hands raised. If you wish to offer any, please raise your hand, either visually or with Zoom. Seeing none, let's have a vote to close the public hearing. Can we have a roll call, please? Catherine, you're on mute.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker. Did he say something?
No, he's on mute. Peter, you're on mute. There you go.
Okay. My Zoom goes in and out. The picture disappears and then the sound goes off. So that's
okay.
Okay.
The motion before the board is to close the public hearing. I voted aye to close, and it's your vote.
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Lohman,
Did we actually get a formal motion on that if we're being picky?
No, we didn't, but I'll make it.
Do we need that? Do we need that on closing the public hearing?
Yes.
Well, apparently we do. So
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
Catherine moved, Rick seconded, and Jim seconded to close the public hearing. Tracy, I apologize. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
do you want me to start over or
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
Okay, by a vote of 5-0, the public hearing is closed. Does the board wish to have any discussion or entertain a motion?
I would like to make a comment. I would like to see as a future agenda item a report on what the drought is doing to SAM, because it's changing the biology of the sewer plant somewhat. and also on what the lower flows mean for our system. Because I know people will say, well, I'm using less water, so I'm sending less down the pipe, so why am I paying more? And I think we should have a quick comment, whether an agenda item or a manager's report. I will also say that from what I've been hearing, the first couple months of this year, the inflation rate is at about 5%. In talking to people about construction, a 2x4 that was about $3 at Home Depot last year, this time last year, is now $11. So we are looking at some increasing costs. It's just like the cost of fuel. When I filled up at Costco today, it was up to $3.95 a gallon for regular, and last year it was at about two something for regular. So we're going to be seeing all these different costs going up, and I realize we didn't get any written objections, but I think part of that is because we do keep people informed, and I would like to continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. I think that's a really good idea to get some idea of the trending and what that does for both the sand plant and for the costs. Sounds good. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to adopt the ordinance next in order. Does anyone care to make that? I'm sorry, was that Kat? Okay, so
that was me.
Catherine moved. Do we have a second?
I second.
Jim gets the second on that one. So we have before us a motion to adopt the ordinance next in order.
I second.
We got Jim. So let's see, the ordinance of the Montara Water and Sanitary District restating and amending the master fee schedule. Tracy, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Decker?
Aye.
Director Harvey?
Aye.
Director Loman?
Yes.
Director Slater Carter?
Yes.
All right, thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Scott, I hate to be picky here, but did we just skip the consent agenda also?
No, I don't think so. I think
There is no consent agenda this time.
Oh, okay.
And public hearing generally comes before the consent agenda, just as if I recall the pattern. But good question. A totally normal thing for us to do. So
I sit corrected.
Well, and I've already skipped over something tonight, so I count on you all to watch my back. Let's go to item 2, review and possible action confirming reports on sewer service charges and water system reliability charges for fiscal year 2021-2022, and delinquent refuse collection charges and water service charges for fiscal year 2020 and to 2021.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So the Public Health and Safety Code requires that for us, in order to put the sewer service charges, the water system reliability charges, and also any other charges like the delinquent charges, if we want to put that on the tax roll, we have to hold a public hearing. It's also required by the tax collector, San Mateo County, that we adopt a resolution stating the intent. And so this is also something that we do every year. We've sent out notices in regards to the collection of the foregoing charges to the of this public hearing to the Half Moon Bay Review in accordance with the court and with the code. And now, similar to the first public hearing, we're recommending that the board opens the public hearing, allows pertinent public testimony, closes the public hearing, and adopts the resolution that allows us to place the charges on the tax roll.
Okay, I hereby open the public hearing. Do we have any public testimony? Clemens, just checking, have we received any written public testimony?
We have not received any written queries or testimony.
Seeing no testimony, can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
I second.
Okay, Rick moved, Peter second to close the public hearing. Tracy, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
Okay, by a vote of 5-0, the public hearing is closed. Do we have any board discussion? I'll note that. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Just one quick comment. I think it's important to keep telling people that one of the increased costs we've constantly has is the lawsuit from Half Moon Bay. And to keep telling the people that, you know, just to talk to their people in Half Moon Bay, because it's even hurting people in Half Moon Bay who live in Miramar and Frenchman's Creek. They talk about protecting their ratepayers. Their method of every sanitary district and every special district I know, one of their main mottos is we're protecting our people. That's not unusual. It's their method of protecting their ratepayers is sticking neighboring ratepayers with their contractual costs. So I want to keep that in the mind of people always, that one of these huge expenses we have is not because of us, but because we have to deal with this lawsuit on an ongoing basis.
I would add just one minor thing to that, Rick, and that is right now, they're not just costing the community of Montara, Moss Beach and Grenada, but they're also costing their constituents as well, because everyone is shouldering the burden of the legal expense.
Yep.
They're gambling that they're going to come out, you know, with what they want, which would be to, you know, radically increase our costs for what we have all shared all these years. But right now, everybody's getting hurt. Okay.
Wait a minute. I would like to tag on to that there is an excellent several articles on this on Coastside Buzz. And if people are curious about it, it was succinctly put out for public consumption on Coastside Buzz, not by a member of this district. The other place to watch, which was of great interest, was at the Mid-Coast Community Council meeting where they had a discussion on this. And it hasn't been a choice of this district but as Rick and Scott both said, and is in the article, essentially the gist of the lawsuit is Half Moon Bay wanted Montara and Grenada to pay to treat their wastewater. So our costs are fair. We pay them, but we shouldn't need to pay a significant portion of Half Moon Bay's too. And I found it interesting in an article that Clemens sent us that CCWD is reducing the cost of priority water connections to get more growth in Half Moon Bay, which means their sewer volumes are going to be going up. And even though there is less water going into the sewer plant because of the drought, the amount of solids and cooking materials that are going in is staying the same. So it's not like the cost of treating the wastewater is less. It simply shifts the cost. And like I say, this is important to know. Clemens, you had given me a number, and I don't have it with me, of what the percent of our Overall attorney's bills are, I would also add that our attorney's bills are increased this year by the redistricting suit that was brought against Montara. That's very expensive. And so just the cost of running the district is fairly minimal through the legal costs, but they have been brought up by outside forces and we have to address those.
Yeah, so there.
Go ahead, Clemens.
The number is in the 4 or 5% range of the budget at this time, Catherine.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott.
Rick?
I just want to do a quick shout out and thank you to our local Greg Dieguez here, who's been writing a lot of very detailed historical articles about the problem, the history, representing us at the Mid-Coast Council and doing a lot of work with excellent explanations of the history, how we got here, what we're doing, and why Half Moon Bay is trying to change the rules at the last minute. So
Greg, I'm going to call on you in a second, but I'm going to throw in. I know. I've had feedback for you on articles, but that's only because these subjects are really complex. And Greg has been working hard to get the story, understand it, knit together all these complex things, presented accurately, but also approachably. And it's a lot of work. And I don't want our knocking heads over getting it right to in any way detract from the public benefit of having someone so interested in pulling all this together and trying to get it out to the community so the community is better informed and can participate in these things that typically only the wonks are really into. It's a good thing for the community. Now to you, Greg.
I just want to mention two things. I did explore through the MCC with County Council, and we've done at the MCC as much as we currently can do, which is we're not a party to the lawsuit. All we can do is represent the opinions of the community, and that's what I believe we did. Mm-hmm. If something changes, if new information comes up, I'll be happy to represent the views of the community again, but that's what council has advised me. The second thing is it became public knowledge to me that the legal fees for El Granada GCSD were $200,000 as of, I believe, the end of the year, just for a point of information.
Well, I'm grateful that Half Moon Bay, in their rush to sue everybody in sight, didn't also sue the MCC. So, okay, we have before us a resolution waiting for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Next resolution, next in order.
Okay, so Catherine has moved and Jim has seconded. The motion before us is a resolution of the Montara Water and Sanitary District overruling protests and confirming reports on sewer service charges and water system reliability charges for fiscal year 2021, 2022, and delinquent refuse collection and water service charges for fiscal year 2020 to 2021, certifying lists of lots or parcels of land and corresponding charges against said lots or parcels and directing transmittal of said certified lists and charges to county controller for entry on the current assessment roll. Any further discussion? Tracy, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Director Boyd?
I'm sorry, was that me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, aye.
Director Decker?
Yes.
Director Harvey?
Aye.
Director Lohman?
Yes.
Director Slater Carter?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries 5-0. The resolution is adopted. Scrolling down to the next item. Let's see. I actually need to get to the top of the agenda. Sorry, folks. Okay, let's go to old business item 1, review and possible action concerning approval of 2021-2022 water and sewer budget and capital improvement programs.
Sorry about that mute button here. Thanks, Scott. So yeah, we reviewed a draft version of this this next fiscal year's budget numerous times. We actually had the exact same budget now in final form up at the last meeting, at the first meeting in June. That was the meeting that our accountant, Peter Medina, could participate in. We had a number of things that still weren't ready. For example, the public hearings at the beginning, we need to set first the sewer service charge before we can adopt the budget. So all of these reasons were why we were pushing off the approval of the budget to this meeting, but the board has seen this numerous times and one time in this absolute final form. Again, there's a 9% increase in sewer service charges included in this budget. There is a 3.8% cost of living increase for all non-exempt employees included in the budget. We're going to ask for the approval with this budget, also for approval of this 3.8% cost of living increase for the employees. We also have on the payroll side, actually in our payroll schedule itself, we have a salary range included for a senior or lead operator position that's designed to close the salary range between the water system operator and the superintendent. And that's really the purpose here to allow for long-term retention of our employees that have been with us for quite some time and are reaching the top scale. So we're going to submit a job description for the new position with the next meeting. We weren't able to prepare that for this meeting. So just to be clear, this is not a new addition of a position. So the number of full-time positions at MWSD will remain at the 8 that we currently are. So no new hires are planned. So just back to the budget, we expect a total combined cash flow income of around $8.3 million, combined expenses of $9.4 million. So that means we're dipping into reserves in the amount of $1.1 million. It sounds scary. However, we weren't able to spend all the capital money in this current fiscal year that we planned on. So we carry over some of that amount from the past fiscal year. So the $1.1 million are not a concern and are not lowering the reserves below the required levels. So the for the next fiscal year, we're planning infrastructure improvement costs of $3.1 million. Our SAM assessment has actually didn't go up, but it's at $1.974 million. We have financing expenses, loans, et cetera, of around $1.4 million. And our personnel costs are going to amount to roughly $1.37 million. So with that, we're asking for the authorization of a 3.8% cost of living increase for all non-exempt employees and the adoption of a resolution of the Montara Water and Sanitary District approving the budget for the fiscal year 21-22. Thanks. Back to the board.
Okay, so do we have any public comment? Let's go to the board then. Board discussion.
No comments.
The only thing that I wanted to say is that the income for sewage is pretty accurate as per that last roll that we just improved. So the budget is in line with what we are expecting and what we have approved. So I see no reason why we should not approve the budget as presented.
Well, I appreciate the members of the board and staff who worked hard to present this. It's timely, it's well presented. And as Peter has observed, Peter has become our eagle eye on watching the finances in excruciating detail. I would say if there were an honorary Bob Patasek successor award, you're at least wearing the pinching every nickel firmly baseball cap that Bob taught us all about. So Bob, hope you're watching. Peter's got a good handle on it.
My only concern is that in regards to the operation for water, we are still running at a loss in the water department. So we do need to have a look at the rate structure for our next fiscal year.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this up, Peter. And I mentioned that we didn't build in a rate increase at this time. On the water side, unlike on the sewer side, we have a chance to do that only once per year. On the water side, we can at any time initiate a rate study or consider changes to the water rates.
We should do that. We should look at that very intently.
Well, it's never a popular thing to say, but thank you for saying it and getting it in front of us and in front of everybody. Are we prepared to have a motion?
I make the motion to adopt the budget and the percentage of increase of 3.8 for the staff.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
So motion by Peter, second by Rick, to authorize a 3.8% cost of living increase for all non-exempt employees and to adopt the resolution next in order. Resolution of Montara Water and Sanitary District approving the budget for the fiscal year 2021-2022. Tracy, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Decker?
Aye.
Director Harvey?
Aye.
Director Loman?
Yes.
Director Slater Carter?
You're muted, Catherine.
Yes.
All right. By a vote of 5-0, the motion carries. The resolution is adopted and the increase is approved. Let's go to new business item 1, Elected Community Service Academy.
Yeah, thank you. So to continue its longstanding commitment to community engagement and education, this district will launch an Elected Community Service Academy. We talked about this already at past meetings, and we're going to start this very soon. But we're going to do this through the next fiscal year, essentially. And the Academy really aims to engage community members, particularly with a committed focus towards any underrepresented population within the district boundaries. And that we're doing that in a series of outreach meetings and communication. So this Academy really seeks to improve the understanding of the roles and responsibilities of directors that are elected to the board of directors, as well as how does the whole process work? The candidacy, well, I can't say the word, candidacy, campaign, the election process. How do you actually get on the board? And we're also looking to promote a broader understanding and interest really from all voters. And hopefully somebody will get interested actually in a leadership position with the district. And so we're trying to do this all before the 2022 board elections. So before any candidate really has to file. And we're going to do this really with 3 major sessions. So we're going to agendize special board meetings, and we will review first the roles and responsibilities of elected leaders, then the candidate filing and campaign requirements, and also the election calendar. So the first session is scheduled for July 28. It will start at 6:30, and we expect at least an hour and a half of a focus on roles and responsibilities of the elected officers. Anyone can register online on our website, mwsd.montara.org. But we're also sending out postcard mailer to all accounts. So anyone will be alerted by a postcard. We're also putting up posters throughout the district that hopefully alert anyone to this academy. So yeah, this is really for information.
Quick question. They don't need to be registered to be able to sign in on Zoom, right? Or to attend.
Allison, help me out. We went through this. I think you don't have to be registered. We prefer a registration.
Right.
You need to get a heads up. But I think we can actually change it at last minute so that anyone can sign on who wants to. Is that correct, Allison? I think so.
Allison, you're muted.
No, you're not on mute, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
hear your fan.
Some buzzing.
It's the buzzing one, yeah. Okay, I'll plug the microphone in. I'll just answer quickly. We did do this before. We asked for registration so we can track how many people attend, but because it is a board meeting, we change it so that you can just opt in. You can go directly into the meeting without registering.
Thank you.
So I understand that to be, we really would appreciate an RSVP, but regardless, come to the meeting anyway.
Yes.
So I would like to just add, I'm really glad that we're doing this. Those of us who have been doing this for a while really appreciate how important this is. And this is a chance to work with the community to help spread some of that understanding. And let's be really clear, we are interested in finding people who are interested in stepping up and learning about this and possibly participating with us, and ultimately to draw more people into stepping up and standing for public service. It's a good and worthy cause. It's part of what makes our community strong, and we've got a great community. So we know there are people out there. Catherine, I see you. We know there are people in the community who would make great participants, but we also know that some of this can be a little mysterious, and so we hope to remove some of the mystery, create a little excitement, and encourage some of you to step into this with us and do good things for the community. I will say, I hear on a fairly regular basis from members of the community, thanks for doing a thankless job, and I think all of us who do this job get more thanks than other things. This is a great community, and people have been regularly and just very, very ready with their thank yous for this kind of service. I met someone the other day who I've never met. First time I met him in all my time here, and he immediately launched into saying thanks not just to me, but to other members of the board who he knows and knows of their service. And it's just a delight to be in a community where the community does know. But we do want to extend an invitation, so please come join us. Catherine, you had a word?
I just wanted to say that once again, Montara Water and Sanitary District is breaking new ground for the coast side. When did you start videotaping and putting online our meetings, Scott, with your little handheld camera?
I was not old at the time. I started volunteering because someone on the board asked me to volunteer. I started volunteering in '97.
And that was with the camera?
I don't know that I started the camera that early. The very first thing was to take the agenda and turn them into web pages and make a website. And that grew. It was not long before we started doing the camera.
I believe we were the first district on the coast side with a website, the first with a camera. We have done many, many other remarkable things. So many I can't remember, but I'll trust other people to. But we have broken ground for public service and for transparency for our community, and others have followed suit. And I think this is something I would also encourage other districts to do. Other districts have community meetings, but I've never seen them open about sort of behind the green curtain of what it's like to be an elected on here. And so I would encourage everyone in Montara and Moss Beach who can to attend, and it's going to be videotaped. I would also encourage people from other districts to participate. Because, for instance, the Mid-Coast Community Council could maybe duplicate this somewhat. Because it's important. The least noticed boards are the ones that impact your pocketbook and your quality of life often the most. And it takes people dedicated to the community and to the quality of life in our community for us. And I'm using those very generically and widely intended. Because if even at the state level, going to those hearings and talking to your state representatives, you can make a difference. And this is a good place to get started. So I just want to, I just saw somebody doing this stupid round of applause. It's really stupid. So I'm not going to do that, but I just want the board and the community to know that we're available and we're trying to make this as accessible to the public as we can.
Rick?
Yeah, just quickly, we haven't mentioned the real benefit, which is if we ever go back to face-to-face meetings, you probably get free cookies too. And not the computer kind.
Oh.
Even by Zoom, sometimes we manage to get cookies.
Oh, ouch.
Oh. All right. So that's our pitch. Please join us for, keep an eye out for the postcard or go to MWSD.montara.org. Please RSVP, and then please join us on, oh man, what is that date? I thought I had it in front of me.
July 28th?
July 28th at 6:30. That's not our normal starting time. It's July 28th at 6:30. We're planning to run for about an hour and a half. So 6:30 to 8. Okay, with that, let's move to our reports. Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side.
Oh, I don't have the agendas in front of me. Now all of a sudden I remember why Bob always carried his whole binder in with him. What have we been doing? Help, Rick. All right. Let's let Greg talk about the Mid-Coast Council, and I'll look up the SAM agenda. Things are going relatively well at SAM. We've got a great crew, but the agenda items, I'm at a loss.
Let's go to Greg. Yeah, Greg, Mid-Coast Council, do you have something for us?
I want to understand. So this academy, it may come as a surprise to you to notice that some of the people on Mid-Coast Community Council are also getting kind of long on the tooth, and we would be looking for successors. Are you recommending, Catherine, that we adopt an academy approach like the one you're doing? Is that what you were saying?
I would request. I think you should. When I was on the council for 8 years, I kept trying to individually recruit people, and they always felt overwhelmed.
Would you mind making that suggestion at the next meeting? Are you going to attend?
I will be on. Yes, I will.
Okay, that's great. As far as our activity, I'll just run through things quickly. We gave a letter of endorsement to Coast Pride, which opened a community center down in Half Moon Bay. there's a project the county is funding for $500,000 to remove some eucalyptus on the medians in El Granada. I won't go into the details, but we are thankful for their efforts, although it's just a drop in the bucket compared to the needs for fire mitigation in El Granada. We also commented on a mitigated negative declaration that's occurring on Montara Mountain by American Cell Tower. I believe I sent members of the board something on this issue. We were quite concerned. As a matter of fact, I'm relatively new at this. I've still never seen a mitigated negative declaration that was true and complete and valid. This thing is filled with, inaccuracies, unnecessary stuff, and potential damage to the habitat and environment on the mountain. So we wrote a strong letter of objection. I wrote an article on it, and I encourage you to look into whether or not your watershed is affected, and also consider opposing it quickly. And then there's a whole bunch of things we could talk about on wildfire issues. The one thing I'll bring up now is that there appears to be finally movement on getting some governance that reflects the Mid-Coast. An advisory council is being formed at the county level, and we're expecting to get a seat on that. It'll probably be Len Erickson, and we'll be able to represent the Mid-Coast, where right now, for instance, the Fire Safe Council is largely Woodside, although they encourage everybody to attend. A lot of what they've been doing is down in the Woodside on the other side of the hill. So we'll be talking more about wildfire issues at our next meeting on Wednesday, help me out, 23rd, is that? And there are just a ton of wildfire issues that we continue to be concerned about.
Greg, I would just, you mentioned that you hadn't seen any good mitigated negative declarations. I'd like to direct your attention to the projects in El Granada, the one that most recently closed up, the expansion of the wet weather facility there in that one is a very good example. The first one was done with a neg deck, and I believe the second one was done also with a neg deck. Not a mitigated neg deck, but something that said we're leaving it as good as we found it. And it's a really great project because when it's done, if you don't know it's there, it's hard to even find it. But it does improve everything because now we have storage, and so that helps us avoid spills under extreme rain conditions, which, today you might wonder if we're going to have to deal with that. But what we know we get more extreme events. And so it's a great thing. And the applications are well written, and you might enjoy having a good one in front of you when you're looking at things that cause you to raise your eyebrows, clean off your forehead when you're looking at the cell tower thing. Catherine?
So back to Sam. We approved both the operations and the, what's the word for it? The collection services budget. We have been over and over and over those. So those were approved. What I would recommend everyone who is watching this meeting, which is not a whole lot of strangers right now, but if you happen to watch it, go back and watch the SAM board meeting, because we had a presentation from Mays and Associates on the PERS and PARS rules for GASB, the government accounting something. It's the accounting rules that government agencies need to follow. And so this was about the PERS and the PARS, the post-retirement funding and reporting of these. It was very, very well done. It talked about changes in the past, changes in the future. What looks like a liability is a liability, but it's not something to stress about right now, kind of thing. And it just is useful if you're tracking any kind of government agency and any kind of government agency budget, because it has to do with those costs. And so that was what we did at the last time. I was in signing checks the other day and I was talking to one of the operations crew. And he told me that these holding tanks in El Granada have been just so effective at helping to run the plant and manage the plant in the troubles that it's having with the BODs and so on. And so it's clear that those tanks are useful in the day-to-day management of what's going on at SAM, not just the wet weather flow as we had originally been told. I'm only sorry that we weren't able to get all 600,000 gallons in that was recommended in the peer review, and we're only at 2/3 of that at 400,000 gallons. And I guess I should be thankful that Half Moon Bay refused to pay to fix the pipe before, because if we hadn't had a problem with the Water Quality Control Board, we never would have put in that extra that additional 200,000 gallons. And so it's helping to run the plant. The whole 400,000 gallon is being very useful in running the plant.
So Catherine, that was a little bit twisty. Let me see if I can clarify.
You can untwist it.
Let me see if I can clarify. Half Moon Bay, by dragging its feet on doing necessary repairs to the intertie system, that led to problems with the system that got the regulators all up in our business. And the regulators forced us to do things, one of which was this expansion, which we had been wanting to do, but Half Moon Bay had been dragging its feet on this and unwilling to fund any part of it. The first phase, they refused to participate at all, with the single exception of eating the cookies at the ribbon cutting
and then complaining.
And sharing a seat on stage, despite the fact that they had paid absolutely nothing and fought really hard to prevent it in the first place.
That's right.
But now we've installed the second phase, and through their truculence, we had a push, which amounted to a shoe in our backside from the regulators to get it done, and everybody participated this time. So we'll find the silver lining in that, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. And I wish we could have gotten the full 600,000 gallons with Half Moon Bay talking about increasing its flows with even more affordable, more housing, and not willing to put in its own holding tanks for running the SAM plant even better. We're going to need to be looking at different other kinds of solutions.
Okay, anything more on SAM? If not, let's go to the CSDA report. Rick, anything?
No meetings. Also, LAFCO, nothing new. And I believe the meeting next month is probably canceled too, because there aren't enough requests. So.
Okay, Christine, attorney's report.
Thank you, President Boyd. Good evening, directors and consultants and members of the public. Rick, you mentioned cookies, and I think those will be coming sooner than you think. I don't know if you've all heard, but the governor issued an order, executive order, the past few days. So we will be going back to face-to-face meetings as of September 30th. So we can bring all the cookies and cupcakes that we want. And that's something that I'll work with Clemens to bring back to the board to see how you would all like to transition back to that. And then secondly, Director Slater Carter asked that I be prepared to give a report this meeting concerning the topic that has already been raised at the beginning of the meeting, and that is a moratorium because of the drought. So I'm going to give a brief report on the process for the district or to impose a moratorium specifically on new water connections if it so chooses or needs to. And again, the logical place to start is the district's drought contingency plan, which was reviewed by the board last month, and then again by Clemens at the beginning of the meeting. It was adopted in 2008 during, I believe, our moratorium at the time, and then it was updated in 2014, which was a few years following the board's lifting of the moratorium. And as Clemens may have mentioned, the drought contingency plan is the sort of guiding document with respect to the district's decisions for the delivery and consumption of water during times of water storage or shortage or another emergency. And it is informed by ongoing water supply data that's contained in the district's water master plan, which I think Greg mentioned was last updated in 2017. Notably, the district's contingency plan outlines the statutory authority under the water code that empowers the district independently to declare a water shortage emergency conditions that then allow it to adopt restrictions and regulations to conserve its water supply. In basic terms, a water supply under the statutory water code authority occurs when supply is reduced to a level that cannot meet ordinary demand. And this can be a result, as you all know, of many factors, including drought conditions. And it can include both an immediate emergency, like Marin Municipal used the statutory authority to adopt its recent emergency measures. And it also can be used if there's a threatened shortage where supply cannot meet increased future demand. And under these circumstances, the district may declare a water shortage and impose restrictions, including a moratoria on new service connections. To initiate the process, an update to the water system master plan would be required in order to evaluate available water supply. And if it's demonstrated that supply cannot meet demand, a declared shortage would be considered by the board at a public hearing. If the board makes the appropriate findings, it'll declare a shortage and establish corresponding regulations aimed at implementing appropriate conservation measures. This would also trigger amendments to both the district's public works plan and the county's LCP to reflect the new water supply conditions. So that's kind of an overview of the process. I think Director Slater-Carter, you had a couple of other questions. I hope I've captured them correctly. I think you asked whether any other local or state agency can impose a moratorium. And yes. The answer, thank you, is only the state regional board can do that, and only if it finds that the district system or the district fails to have a reliable source of water to serve its customers because of a drought situation, for example, which is a violation of the Clean Water Act. And so in that in that way, the state can enforce restrictions and including banning new service connections. That's the only state agency that can do that, other than our independent, the district has the independent authority under the water code. Lastly, I do want to address and just reiterate that the district's regulations are clear that service connections are subject to any moratorium or water supply emergency or drought conditions that limit water supply. So if the district should declare a shortage and determine to ban new service connections, pending or future development projects will be evaluated in light of the supply and demand analysis that the district prepares in support of the moratorium and the corresponding regulations at both the county and the district levels. And so that sort of is the broad framework for any potential new service applications that might be in the pipeline, so to speak.
So I have a hand from Greg and then a hand from Rick. Let's go to Greg.
The easy one, Christine, is can we still Zoom meetings if we want? Does every council member have to attend in person, or can you still attend from home and be counted as a quorum?
We can still provide access virtually to the public or anyone, but the council or the directors do need to be present unless they comply with the old telephonic rules that require at least one member be present. I'm trying to remember what they are. We go back to the old rules. So if a director can't be present and they want to call in, they have to post an agenda at their location. It kind of has to be open to the public. But we can no longer, the entire board is no longer permitted to sit virtually for a public meeting, if that makes sense.
Okay. Second question, are I think you used the term drought contingency plan. I'm not sure I retained it. Are those on the website, Clemens? Does somebody know where we can read those?
Yes, we just published it in a packet last month. I think it may have been May 1st, the first meeting in May. Yes. Oh, May 21st.
Oh,
okay.
It's in the
agenda packet.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And just to be sure I understand, the district can unilaterally essentially put a moratorium on itself if it does the appropriate research.
And makes the appropriate findings, which require a substantial basis in fact. Okay. Let's go to Rick.
Thanks, Christine, for the very clear things. You're talking 100% about water connections. In your research, did you see anything concerning the fact that the county historically has been pretty loose about just approving every well application they know? A well application would also be draining our aquifer. Would we have any control over the county process for approving wells, or is that we would have to have the county do something?
Oh, that's a good question, Rick. I'm not
sure. Or we can just bring that up later. I mean, if
I will. No, it's a good question.
Catherine, do you have something on that?
It's my recollection that once we ended the moratorium and started allowing connections, the county started disallowing wells in the urban area.
And in fact, on conversions, I was reading on Nextdoor, someone complaining about how the county had forced them to abandon their well and fill it with dolomite when they converted over. So it looks like the county is taking a different posture than in the past where they were profligate.
That's good.
Yep.
It's all the same water.
Profligate.
But we should remind people we do have connections we do have connections available for a fee. And if your well is acting funky, you can either spend a lot of money trying to drill it deeper, or you can, if you're in the urban area, you can connect to MWSD and get sanitary, treated, clean, beautiful, some of the best in the world water delivered right to your taps. My neighbor, who lives out at the end of a road and not anywhere close to any kind of MWSD hydrant, much less urban water supply, has been trying to fix their well for the last 2 months. They've been drilling and drilling and drilling and getting nothing.
Oh.
Yeah. So don't take your wells for granted, number one. And number two, if you are in the urban area and we have a map, and come on in and get your connection.
Let me mention, if you have a well that is serving your home, one thing that
in the urban area.
No.
Oh.
If you have a well that is serving your home and humans are consuming this water, something that happens in the district for the water that we serve, our crew is checking that water and all the things that supply that water on a daily basis. If you're your own water operator because you're operating your own well, please know you need to, from time to time, check it and make sure that it's serving you clean water and that it's in good working order. And there are some real advantages to hooking up to the public system. We take on that burden. But if you're going to continue doing that, I've spoken with well owners before who didn't realize how much is actually necessary to operate a safe well. And would encourage you to, Clemens, is it okay if people call and ask about what it takes to operate a home well, or is that something where they would need to talk to, is there someone we might direct them to?
Well, we are definitely a first point. We would still refer them to a plumbing company with experience, but we can give them some first advice. And I also want to point out we have actually a well sampling program that allows us to talk to a well owner that has concerns about water quality, advise them on what samples could be taken. We can take those samples. We can ship those samples to our lab. The well owner would have to pay the analysis, but at our cheaper rates. And the well owner later actually owns the results of this analysis. So we can help well owners out quite a bit. I also, Scott, want to point to our well conversion program here real briefly while I have the word, that allows anyone to convert to MWSD water, get off a well, convert to MWSD water, and almost all the cost, at least the cost that go to MWSD, can be financed over a 10-year period. So that's another advantage. Sorry to jump there a little longer.
Oh, no. I think it's a good opportunity to, you don't have to be on our system to get some benefit from getting advice from the district staff. That's excellent. But I'd forgotten about the financing program, but that does make it considerably, we think, more affordable. And you don't have to finance it through a financial institution. That's something you do directly with the district, and it's got a distinct advantage. Okay, so I believe we are through our, we have general manager's report.
No report.
And, director's reports. Let me thank you, Christine. That was a lot of ground to cover. That was a little more than normal for the attorney's report, but thank you so much for preparing that. Do we have any items that we want to bring up for future agendas? Okay, we are going.
I did hear Catherine raise a request at the beginning of the meeting, so we'll follow through with that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are going to take a 5-minute recess, and then
we have one comment from Christine.
I know.
Okay, good.
Kind of getting in the habit. But I was just going to give a summary of, we're going to reconvene in closed session after our recess. We'll confer with legal counsel on existing litigation about Half Moon Bay suing the coast side. One case of anticipated potential litigation, an existing long-running piece of litigation about Dow Chemical, and then a conference with real property negotiators for 771 Rivera Road here in Montara. Christine?
Thank you. I just want to note for the record that due to a conflict of interest under Government Code 87100, Director Lohman will recuse himself from closed session item pertaining to the real property negotiations, and he will leave and disconnect the remote meeting and have no video or audio feed.
And I'll just mention that it's not that Rick is mean or bad, but it just, he lived it. To live.
Lost Scott there for a moment.
Jim, you're on mute, but I can tell from your grin, I want to hear what you're saying.
That's all right.
Well, Rick, we're so happy that you moved into our community. So I guess I can't pick on you too much for where you chose. That's a beautiful, beautiful place. All right, so we're going to take a 5-minute recess and plan to come back about 8:59. Thank you everyone for coming, and we bid our public a good evening.
Good night.
Good night, Tracy.